Weddings are events planned with great care, where everything is supposed to unfold in perfect harmony. However, that is not always the case. Some brides, or even people around them, for different reasons, end up turning the big day into a true battlefield, whether because of controversial decisions, unexpected rivalries, or extreme attitudes. From scandals involving ex-boyfriends to public fights and unusual requests, these are the brides who caused problems that you will see today. According to a record and reports, during a wedding in the city of Shenzhen in China, a pregnant woman, who was supposedly the groom's lover, showed up wearing a wedding dress and interrupted the ceremony. The situation quickly escalated into a fight between the lover and the official bride, with both even rolling on the floor during the confrontation. The incident was recorded on video and gained prominence on Chinese social media in the year 2013. Amid the confusion, the bride accused the lover of having avoided an abortion and flaunted the pregnancy to ruin her life and extort money from the groom. The groom tried to intervene, but the situation had already caused great embarrassment among the guests. The video of the incident was widely shared, sparking discussions about fidelity and extramarital relationships in Chinese society, since this case was not isolated, and others of a similar nature were happening rather frequently across the country. During a wedding, the bride and groom are following the usual church service until at communion time, that moment of receiving the host and the wine, something embarrassing happens. Everything goes smoothly until the moment of communion. The man receives the host, as does the bride. But when it is time for the wine, the bride takes the chalice to drink and ends up letting her dental prosthesis fall into the drink. To make matters worse, she only realizes it when the priest had already taken the chalice and was passing by the husband. Therefore, she asks for it back, removes the dental prosthesis from the middle of the drink, and hands it back to the priest, feeling very embarrassed. She even gives a very awkward smile without the prosthesis, showing the gap where the teeth should be, until she puts it back in place and resumes her normal appearance. Apparently, even with what happened, the groom drinks the wine as usual. Recently, a situation involving a bride and a makeup artist drew attention and caused a lot of controversy on social media. The bride, Bruna Eloisa, chose not to inform the makeup artist that the makeup was for her wedding, seeking a more financially accessible service. After the ceremony, the makeup artist discovered the real occasion and expressed her outrage, accusing Bruna of dishonesty. Consumer law experts commented on the case, clarifying that charging different prices for the same service only because the client is a bride is considered an abusive practice, which led to heavy criticism of the makeup artist. According to lawyer Alexandra Rodriguez from the Consumer Rights Commission of the Brazilian Bar Association, in theory, the professional would apply the same diligence and the same effort to do makeup for a bride or for anyone else. Therefore, there would be no justification for a price difference if the service provided was the same. Attorney Carolina Vezentini from the Brazilian Institute of Consumer Protection further emphasized that, considering it is the same service, there should be no price distinction simply because someone is a bride. She adds that the client is not obliged to reveal the reason for hiring the service, as long as what was requested is delivered as agreed. In short, although the makeup artist may offer special packages for brides with additional services, it is not allowed to charge a higher price just for the bride status if the makeup is identical to what is offered to other clients. Moreover, the client does not have to disclose the occasion for which the makeup will be used. During her daughter's wedding, a mother, upset and not accepting the groom, who from that moment on would become her son-in-law, decided to create a huge ruckus and commotion inside the church to try to stop the ceremony. In footage taken from inside the wedding, everything appears calm and peaceful at first, until suddenly the woman, who had been there from the beginning, starts shouting, insulting her son-in-law, the guests, and everyone present. The groom, very annoyed by the situation, shouts back, and even his own mother gets involved on his behalf, causing even more chaos. The bride's mother does not back down and attempts to go after the groom's mother, being stopped by other people. The bride, who is this woman's daughter, is left not understanding anything and seems frozen, in shock at her mother's behavior. Unable to believe what was happening, only after some time does she start crying upon seeing what her wedding day had turned into. A bride was seen at a wedding showing little reaction with a very sad expression, drawing the internet's attention because of it. In the ceremony video, she appears downcast as she enters the church to marry a man who was, in truth, much older than she was, and also shorter in height. This fact, combined with the sorrowful expression on her face as she walked in, made many people start commenting that she was marrying only for the husband's money or for a possible inheritance in the future. Her expression really is that of someone who apparently did not want to be there, which is rather strange, after all. It is her own wedding, and one would expect visible happiness on her face. We know that at a wedding ceremony, there is the moment when the bride and groom kiss, and it was exactly at that moment that the interaction between this specific couple caught people's attention. In footage recorded by a guest, at the instant the couple is about to kiss, the bride does not seem very comfortable with the situation. Each time the groom leans in to kiss her, she pulls back and only offers some brief pecks. This, of course, drew the attention of the guests and internet users after the moment was published. Could the groom have bad breath? Well, that was one of the theories raised by people. Obviously, it is not possible to know for certain. There is also the possibility that the bride was nervous, which would make sense. After all, she was getting married, living a unique and emotional moment in her life. Moreover, kissing in front of everyone can often be uncomfortable, especially amid the nervousness she was probably feeling. A bride who was very nervous before the wedding found a rather unusual way to calm herself down and thus arrive at the ceremony more relaxed. Apparently, she is a woman who enjoys and practices physical exercise. So, in her moment of anxiety, she got the idea to use 2 dumbbells to simply work out and calm herself, since exercising makes her feel better, calmer, and on top of that, it gives her that pump, making her muscles look more noticeable right after a workout, and even feeling more beautiful for walking down the aisle. A common tradition at wedding parties is the moment when the bride tosses the bouquet so that the single women can try to catch it and get married too. However, in this specific case, the tradition was slightly altered and drew attention. In a video recorded during the party, the bride gets ready to throw the bouquet. Several women gather behind her waiting to catch it, but the bride, in reality, does not throw it. She turns around and takes the bouquet to her friend's hands, who is left confused until her partner comes close and, on bended knee, proposes to her in front of everyone, causing a big moment of celebration. Of course, everything was planned between the bride and the man so that the proposal would happen in this manner, which turned out to be very interesting and ended up attracting attention. The tradition was altered, but for a good reason. That was definitely worth it. In July of 2021, nursing technician Maria de Fatima Lima dos Reis faced an unexpected problem on her way to her wedding in the Federal District of Brazil. The vehicle in which she and her godparents were traveling broke down on BR-020 highway, only 30 minutes before the ceremony. Desperate, Maria de Fatima was rescued by agents of the Federal Highway Police, who offered her a ride to the registry office in the Colorado area, ensuring she arrived in time to get married. Yes, my friends, the bride arrived to her wedding in a police vehicle, which, of course, surprised many of those present. The episode served to demonstrate the willingness of police forces to assist citizens in unforeseen moments, making sure that special occasions are not ruined by setbacks. During the airing of the reality show My Gypsy Wedding on the Learning Channel, TLC, a woman decided to enter the ceremony and create a huge commotion. In footage recorded by the show, the wedding was taking place as a double ceremony, with 2 couples getting married at the same time, when one groom's ex suddenly arrives at the location and confronts the bride, hoping to win the man back. However, the situation turns into an absolute pandemonium. The ex seems very agitated and lost, not knowing for sure what to say. Many viewers criticized her, stating that the groom's breakup with her had actually been a relief. A bride decided to make a daring entrance at her wedding, impressing all the guests who celebrated her grand arrival. To create such an impact, the bride appeared at the top level of the venue where everything was taking place, opened the balcony railing, and by means of a rope tied to the ceiling, descended to the lower floor in a spectacular way, holding onto it with only one hand and even showing some ease. The idea, which came from the bride herself, was filmed and made waves on social media for being different from the traditional norm, and therefore surprising everyone present, including the groom. During the airing of the reality show Say Yes to the Dress, broadcast by the Learning Channel, TLC, a bride chose her dress, fell in love with it, but when no one expected it, her opinion suddenly changed. She arrives at the location full of dresses where the show takes place, looks at some models, and with the help of experts, chooses one she really likes, feeling quite happy about it. However, when she steps out of the fitting room wearing the dress and sees that her family does not like what they see, she becomes discouraged. Her expression completely changes, and her self-esteem plummets in an instant. She ends up giving up on the dress, showing her disappointment with the situation, and leaves the store without choosing which one she will wear on the big day. After all, at that point, she was no longer excited about seeking another option. During a wedding party, the bride, who had apparently already taken off the dress she wore for the ceremony, was wearing a much shorter, tighter outfit considered inappropriate by some people when she decided to dance in front of the stage. Because of her moves, she ended up revealing more than she should have. Feeling excited, she starts to dance, but because the dress is short and form-fitting, it rides up and shows far more than it ought to, even more so considering she was the newly married bride. Even realizing that the dress is riding up, she does not seem to care much about fixing it and keeps dancing that way, surrounded by other guests who are also dancing and do not appear to notice the situation. The video of the dance spread online and attracted a lot of attention. Many people criticized the bride for her boldness, calling her clueless for exposing herself in such a way. During a wedding, the bride ended up being caught in a moment of displeasure upon noticing that one of the guests had not followed the dress code instructions indicated on the invitation. In footage filmed as people left the venue, the bride can be seen being greeted by guests when the particular guest walks by, wearing a very eye-catching white dress. As is well known, at a wedding, it is not recommended that others wear white, since that color should be reserved for the bride, and it can be considered rude for someone else to wear it. The guest, as we can see, ignored this rule and received a furious look from the bride, who glared at her upon noticing her attire. According to reports, the invitation had a reminder not to attend the ceremony in a white dress, but the guest simply disregarded it, did not read it, or acted on purpose to provoke. On the 15th of December of 2023, in Curitiba in Brazil, 40-year-old military police officer Caroline Pompeo delayed the dinner at her own wedding to help a motorcyclist who had been in an accident. After the civil ceremony, Caroline and her husband, who was also a military police officer, were on their way to the celebration when they came upon the accident on the Contorno Sul of the city. Without hesitation, Caroline, still dressed as a bride, began performing first aid, doing chest compressions on the victim while her husband controlled traffic and called the Integrated Emergency Trauma Service. The ambulance had difficulty arriving due to the traffic jam, but thanks to the couple's intervention, the motorcyclist was stabilized and taken to the hospital where he underwent surgery and was not in life-threatening condition. Interestingly enough, this was not Caroline's first heroic act. In 2022, while on vacation, she saved a 7-month-old baby who had drowned in a bathtub. The couple believes that generosity and a willingness to help are fundamental in their lives. Victoria Garrick Brown, a digital influencer and former volleyball player at the University of Southern California, gained attention on social media by sharing moments from her wedding, including one very striking detail of her dress, the gigantic veil. By sharing a clip of her walk while already in her gown, it is possible to see she is wearing a huge veil that covered practically her entire body. According to information, this was to prevent anyone, including the future groom, from seeing how she looked before the ceremony, since old traditions say that seeing the bride beforehand can bring bad luck, something Victoria wanted to avoid, as she had been eagerly waiting for this day. Victoria is known for addressing topics such as mental health and body image on her social media. On her TikTok profile, she posts various content for her thousands of followers who were impressed by how large her veil was. Truly out of the ordinary. Subscribe to the channel for more videos like this.